Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. We're still in Taejin's tower.
We're actually about to finish it, though.
Well, yeah.
Just in time for Dez to come back finally.
I had to be honest, I had a slight Mandela effect, but I thought that this dungeon went on for a bit longer than this when it was showcased.
It depends on how you play it, too.
Oh, okay. To be fair, remember, the original time we did this was on
No, I'm talking about my own personal experience with the game.
It's like this, Teo.
Okay. To be fair, my point still stands here. Let's not forget, we've been breezing through a lot of stuff on this playthrough thanks to the easy difficulty setting. Like, I do get the feeling that on normal difficulty, it probably would go longer by virtue of how, again, the battle system works and how spongy enemies can be.
Let's
not forget, even with the easy difficulty setting, even the ship took less time than it originally did.
Not just that, like, there's also the fact that I'm basically rushing through it, trying my best to just stick to the... and there's also the fact that I added out any filler parts that might not be necessary to show. So basically, I'm trying my best to just show the essential progressive parts and remove any stuff that doesn't need to be shown. So basically, it's not to mention I have a lot of the Septisols, meaning I can avoid battles easily. So it's a combination of various factors.
No, true, but I was mentioning that, taking that into consideration. But that's irrelevant anyway. The point is that we're at the top of the tower, or at the very least what is right now. Because if you remember seeing it from a distance, the tower kind of crumbled onto itself.
Yeah, right there. Like, there's the part we can travel down to get to Oerba.
Indeed. But first, we have this is the end of the dungeon, so of course there has to be a boss battle somewhere. Let's see.
And we kind of hyped up the Dahaka, so...
Where is it?
I guess that thing just reacts to whenever somebody steps on it.
Pressure plate?
Thank you, Saz.
What was that?
I don't know. Maybe the mocap actor was having fun. I don't know.
It's acting strange. He must be weak from losing his tail.
And he's holding onto it.
Yeah, that looks plenty feisty to me.
He's bluffing to scare us off. Let's just go with that, right? Come on, we can do
Remember,
this.
Jova.
Alright, he's just bluffing.
Remember, Jova, the writing is... it's kind of like...
Doesn't seem to match.
remember, Dwebs, the terrible localization. It's kind of like how in Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow says, "Is that what Chaos Control is?" Even though he's actually supposed to say he just used Chaos Control. That's what he actually says, because I've checked it with the Sonic Adventure 2 retranslated mod that the fans have made. So...
yeah, it's funny. A lot of people, my cousin included, actually went off of the belief that the Chaos Control that the Bio-Lizard used is actually the raw Chaos Control as opposed to a more refined and artificial form that Shadow uses. An interesting theory, though. It turns out that was just a mistranslation.
I think, it's like we said before. For localization aside, I'm not going to feel sorry for the game in its original form either.
Oh no, trust me, don't worry.
I looked into it with the original script. The original script is still bad. Mind you, the original script knows what it's doing better. That said, make of it what you will. A story that's arguably stupid because it literally had no idea what it was doing, or a story that did know what it was doing and still managed to be just as bad.
And there you go,
arguably.
which the dark having killed just disappears like that.
Yeah,
wait a minute.
It's so good even though it isn't.
So I guess taking down the Falsey may not be that hard then if they just go down like that.
It's also a showcase that the characters are indeed getting stronger.
You know, that's a thing though. Throughout this game, unless there's some optional bosses, to my knowledge we've only really fought 3 Falsey in this whole game.
Lost, we are free.
We fought the one that branded us, we fought Bartenderless, and this guy. Not really much other Falsey that we've fought.
I guess that means there are still more monsters like that one out there.
Sounds
No
like it.
Daho.
Somewhere out there on Grand Pulse.
Gone just like that. big hunk of rock, that thing sure can
If
move.
you come back
just doing what they can
here
too.
after this section is done, usually the post game, you can actually do some other extra mission given to you by the Menhirrim, which also helps reactivate a bit more the tower.
Also,
But
I love
for
how
the-
when
It's right down
love
there,
how when the
then.
camera changes perspectives, character models.
So what's it like?
Sets.
The post game. So, is there like a chapter select that allows you to access this post game, or do you have
As
to?
far as you could see, huh?
After you defeat the final boss, you are actually still we basically
So
are
Rosie, I'm sorry to say.
get back to the last save before
You wanna
the room with that. So you can go back from there to pause.
It's a problem.
Right.
It's a problem with the PC port, Dubs.
So let's go to
Fortunate-
Oerba.
To Oerba. I also really like Oerba's theme in this.
It's all gone.
Yeah, the thing that Vanilla was saying
Every
about
trace
being,
of color.
you know, full of green and stuff. It's now a desert of ash.
Well, Vanille, you were encasing Crystal for like 100 years or so. Obviously, things wouldn't exactly be the same way since the last time.
We all agreed, and now we're here.
See, guys, we gotta have hope still.
Ha.
Sure, anything is.
We'll make the impossible possible.
He just held her hand.
Oh, by the
no
power.
Power.
He just held her hand. That's so
I know
lewd.
that.
Thank you for your contribution, Sansa.
I guess they really thought they needed to make Saz more comedic in the last bits of this game because this is not how he was acting
He has been
earlier.
for the entire game, Jova.
It's about that's the sad part.
That's the sad part.
It's like Spoonie said in his vlog review. Like Saz is the best character, but you can tell Toriyama doesn't want you to see him as the best character.
Okay, so let me reiterate. Yes, I get he has been kind of like that, but it wasn't as exaggerated as it is now. Maybe it's
Standardization.
just the fact that there's not much story to him other than that now, seeing as how more or less his shtick with his son is, I'll deal with it, and there's hope. So I guess he's the more upbeat guy now.
That's
Yes.
that's a sad part because usually flanderization of characters usually happens after the first entry. This is literally a game that introduces a character for the first time and then proceeds to flanderize him later. Wow, you couldn't even wait till at least one sequel before you started to flanderize this character?
Though, mind you, the flanderization through title to title still happens.
Oh, it does.
Seriously, what the fuck?
It does too. But it's amazing how this guy couldn't even wait to finish at least one game before he started flanderizing him.
No, that's the thing. A lot of these characters, except for, ironically enough, Vanille. Yeah, honestly, except for Vanille, everyone kind of gets a little flanderized by the end. Because, like I mentioned, at this point, the only one who really has a character arc left is Vanille. Maybe Fang to another extent, but even Fang's more or less dealt with her stuff at this point. Like, no, let's think about it. Lightning pretty much has her crap dealt with. Snow has hope for Sarah, essentially. Hope. God, we already pretty much finished it up when he settled things with his dad. Bang! Settled down after her Eidolon. Like, and yeah, Vanille had her Eidolon moment too, but she still has more to do. And this is the main problem with them trying to suggest that Lightning, of all people, is
looks
going
like
to
an
be the
easy way
main
to get where
character.
we're going.
Lightning is kind of a
take it.
non-element at this
Wouldn't
point
want
in
you
the
to throw
game,
your
let's
back
be
out
honest.
climbing,
Like,
man.
the plot could arguably
really
be
are
solved
charmer, aren't you?
with or without Lightning.
And yeah, like I mentioned in the previous part, now these kind of transitioning through, you know, Taejin's tower to Oerba, it's kind of a bit wonky. Sure, it makes sense for the collapsed tower to be kind of like a ramp, but it connects to the desert.
Whoa!
But you can kind of tell that they could have easily interchanging this just was not planned from the get-go. This is, like I said, Dark Souls 2 level of connecting two levels together.
How are you completely unarmed from that? That thing was rotating with you inside it. How are you?
Okay. Much like in a lot of sci-fi kind of tech, like we see, for example, in the core, the internal chamber is kind of it rotates a kind of a gyroscope to stay in parallel with the ground level.
Fair enough.
It's an easy type of the mechanism used for sci-fi media that wants to have a vehicle doing weird flipping shit, but the characters still be fine.
But yeah, honestly, it's like we said before, if anyone should have been the poster girl for this game, should have been Vanille.
She's even the narrator.
She's the narrator, even.
She's the narrator. She is arguably the hero of the story. She's the one who has to go through the redemption after she has ruined everyone's lives. In fact, she's the thing connecting. In fact, she's the one. She's the factor connecting all these people here and there. Now, I'm not going to act like Cloud and Squall were necessarily the things connecting their groups here and there, but even still, Cloud and Squall had more business being the main protagonist with how the story at least felt more centered around them.
That is true, Jova, but Lightning is Toriyama's waifu, therefore she gets to be main character, obviously.
There was also, remember, ever starting with 10, there has been okay, thankfully it is not being
the series has been having problems with protagonists.
There's been a decentralization on the protagonists. Mind you, I don't really have a problem with that. It's just a thing that I'm noticing it happen.
Decentralization isn't the worst thing. It's a problem though when they clearly are trying to act like there is a main protagonist, but in reality they have no idea what they're doing.
They still need someone to market for it, for branding, for marketing alone. That still I can understand to some degree. And for value, like it's similar to Type 0, for example. Class 0 acts kind of like of a unique. Hold on. All right.
Suddenly,
we're about to see.
All of them. They're all ours.
See, Oerba is an idyllic society where there's no concept of property.
One big happy family.
One heck of a lot of places to hang your hat.
Says you don't have a hat.
I know
it's a way of saying, but still, I would rather have a character with a hat saying that.
But yeah, again, the thing is like, well,
saying that.
Well, Snow's technically wearing a bandana, but...
hey, Toriyama, question. Could you maybe direct the mocap actors better? Because you had Lightning's actress go over there only so that she can just come back immediately. What was the point of that?
Again, for example, Jova, Type 0 has... It's mostly Machina and Realm story when you get down to it, but Class 0 is...
We better. Gotta find something to help us lose these brands.
That's not the only reason we're here. You're finally home. Make the most of it.
Yeah. Why don't you go say hi to all your neighbors who are safe now? I'm sure they'll be happy to see you.
That's the sad thing. Again, the game, interestingly enough, tells you visually that what happened to the people in Oerba. They all got branded and turned into Thief after the war.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones who had enough left to become Thief.
But
remind me, Teo. Were Vaughn and Pinello added after Matsuno left or before?
Oh no, all the characters were conceptualized at the same time. The only thing that changes was the fact that one was supposed to be called Aqua and was ideally the last party member you would encounter, ironically enough. And when you get down to it, like I said this in the past, but yes, ideally enough, 12 is more of a story about Ashe and a quest to become a proper ruler of her country and to shackle away the tyranny of the Empire of Arcadia. Baltier has a role too, but you can tell that it's more of a minor, as much as he will love to contradict and say that he's the main lead. I would say that Van still has an important role in regards to Ashe, but I want to save that when we actually get to the game particularly because it's something that's best to observe directly. But again, for reference, Type 0 has the entire Class 0 being kind of homogeneous on that front, but for crossover purposes, Ace is up in front, and the story is not as big.
Hold on, Teo. Alright, Dej, so, what I'm about to show you is the ultimate proof that Vanille is evil.
Oh, please.
Oh, right, never mind, it's after this. Never mind.
It's enemies, how evil.
Oh, right.
No, not that one, Dwebs. Next battle.
Also, you gotta love how some people are so bad with the seeping that all that's left of them is their moving arms like zombies.
All right, I think it's in this battle, isn't it?
Yeah, you're about to show.
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay. Basic. Okay, so we're about to see Vanille's Eidolon. So let's summon them.
She's doing a satanic ritual there.
Not just that.
Weirdly enough, Hekaton is Earth Elemental, even though Vanille is not really associated with that.
Well, I can kind of see the logic because, you know, she comes from Pulse, which is on Earth. So I can see the logic there.
Like I said, after the boss fight, and even in the previous part, Hekaton transforms into a Magitech armor, which was actually one of the first times it was referenced ever since 6, so it is pretty cool, actually.
So there you go. Basically, Her Eidolon is basically a conjunction of machine guns. Yeah, like that. And wait till you see what happens. Wait till you see what happens when I unleash the ultimate attack.
Bonk.
Bonk indeed. There you go. Check this out. Listen to her. There you go. See?
You know,
she just orgasmed from blowing shit up.
Like she gets off on killing people.
Okay, she has a weird kink, but I don't see how this is evil.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
Hey, no kink shaming on the show.
Exactly. Unless it's Jova, then it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Alright, let's get actually to the despite what that pedanticness that they mentioned before, Vanille and Fang do have a house properly where they used to live. We're about to actually get there.
And we're also we're actually going to take a break. We're actually going to take a break from the main story and do a couple side stuff here in Oerba because there's actually some side stuff to do here. So I figured, sure, why not? This is the side stuff in this place is actually relatively easy to get done, so I guess might as well. Alright, so
as you can see here, you can remain a sieve so long that you will literally start falling apart.
Basically, the ultimate stage is becoming the sieve stone.
This is like I said before, this particular part of the game we're in Oerba is actually the best part of the game storytelling wise, because if you explore Oerba, you can see a lot of environmental cues telling you of what's been happening, over the course of the centuries. Again, you can find a school that they used to teach in and stuff like that. Again, you're literally seeing this civilization that, again, remember, the entire people of Cocoon resented as their enemies, and yet look at that, this civilization doesn't even exist anymore. So you don't ever get to see how Pulse was back in its glory days, but you get at the very least a good basic sense of how yeah, they're just as normal as you got Cocoons are. So yeah, Cocoon is basically just a bunch of racists. So there you go. Hey, look at that, a kitchen. These burlap sacks are stuffed with tools for outdoor labors. One bears a tag proclaiming it in the name of its former owner. Indeed. Something else. Whimsically colored boxes flank the shattered mirror's frame. Some young girl's treasure chests, to be sure. So yeah.
Neat.
Some young girl's treasure chests that, unfortunately, yeah, we probably just kill her as a thief, probably by this point, ever since we got here. While not in itself the most luxurious of beds, the sound of fellow sleepers no doubt afforded some comfort to its occupants.
If I recall correctly, somewhere in this place there's also a photo that people zoomed in portrays Fang and Vanille.
A pot of this size could feed a great many mouths, and would have been used regularly for communal cooking. And look at what we found. So yeah, this is actually Vanille's house, and this is her robot, Bhakti.
They had pet robots.
Yeah. You're okay. I was worried.
He's probably been waiting for her all these years. What?
He's not ready for the scrap heap just yet.
Fortunately, since Saz is a mechanical guy, he can fix him.
So Bhakti can come with us, right?
No.
No.
That being
What's the
said,
point?
if you fix him, he'll be able to give you some tasks so you can unlock the hardest trophies in the game. Anyway, Vanille's robotic pal Bhakti is in dire need of repair. You should be able to find all 5 parts somewhere here in Oerba, so explore the town and see if you can find them.
I wonder if Vanille built it.
Basically, the primary
yes.
the primary justification for helping Bhakti is, like I said, to get extra trophies, specifically trophies like the Treasure Hunter trophy, which is the stupidest trophy I've ever seen in an RPG. The one where
I guess
the one where you have to literally hold every single item in the game at the same time. That's whatever.
Hey,
If I recall correctly, Jova, aside from the trophies, while completing those specific tasks, Bhakti gives you like a couple of augmenting materials that are useful for the ultimate weapons.
Yeah, that too.
And hey, at least you get the satisfaction of seeing him be alive again.
Not to mention, the quest for repairing him is pretty easy. Like it's a set, there are 5 parts to scatter through Oerba. Just visit it properly, you will come to find them naturally.
Basically.
Again, honestly, if the game had been like this, and to an extent the previous dungeon before, I'm not gonna act like that would have automatically made it good, but
Jova,
would it have been much more.
Gee, Jova.
You know what this kind of reminds me? This kind of scenario. Imagine the scenario of the characters just dumped on pulse from the get-go, not knowing each other, having just the focus and everything, and the entire game being on pulse and having them piecing together how we came here and what's their backstory. It will basically be a video game kind of adaptation of Predators.
Okay. I would hope it would be better than Predators, but yeah, okay.
In terms of premise, I mean.
There definitely is an argument to be made that could have been much better than what we got. Like, again, for as cliche as Amnesia could be, this, I'd argue, would have been one of those cases where it could have been used well for the plot.
It will not justify, but it will, be a better vehicle for everything. The party not trusting each other, the player being in the same situation, having to understand what each of these people, get to have behind, having to piece the mystery also what this planet with this alien to them gives to them, rather than, starting on Cocoon.
It would also do much better in explaining why they changed personalities, because, yeah, when you get down to it, some of these characters kind of just flip their personalities here and there. Like, now them getting their memories back would help explain those shifting personalities here and there, and help them still feel like they have agency in the plot overall, too. It's like how I mentioned way earlier when I mentioned how this plot could have been done better. Yeah, this is a case where Amnesia may have actually helped the matter.
Again, that's what the first Wildlands review does. So, we found ourselves a Pulsian schoolroom. But first, let's
Classes in session.
Okay,
I don't see anyone voiced by Liam O'Brien here, though.
I'm guessing they couldn't afford to make a battle arena for the schoolroom, so we still fight outside somehow. To go back to Jova's argument about if there was more of this in the game, Jova, it's like if they couldn't afford to put more of this stuff in the game because the game was rushed or something. Again,
that's the thing. I'm running off of more the mentality that this was all last-minute addition stuff, just to throw the traditional Final Fantasy fans a bone, as opposed to them initially planning this. Because, again, all other stuff seems to suggest that how the game has been for the most part is how they wanted things to go. At the very least, how they've handled it in PR is gone about how, oh no, they were certain that this is what we wanted in Final Fantasy, and this is how it was going to be from now on. And then the backlash came.
Alright, so, I know it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Just because a game doesn't have the smoothest development cycle doesn't automatically mean the game's going to be bad. And
obviously.
It's just as true as a game having a pretty smooth development cycle, but it turns out to be shit.
Honestly,
anything can happen. It's all about nuance.
Honestly, from what I've heard, most game developments go pretty
Just a
roughly
simple
as
formula
opposed
still
to
faintly
easily.
discernible. There you go, blackboard. This must have been a classroom, exactly. It's
That
more so
reminds me of that screen over Silent Hill 1 about the dog house.
in
Go on, Pedro.
the case of this game, Dwebs, it's more so that the game is riddled with problems, and when you read the development history, suddenly you understand why these problems are even here to begin with. Because it goes a long way to explain a lot of the stuff. The lines that make no sense. Again, the terrible localization. The overly linear level design is explained by the fact that most of the actual final product was put together over the last year or so. It's one of those cases where when you read the development, suddenly all of this suddenly makes sense. Also, another thing that you can check, if you take a look at the clock in the classroom.
Oh, a Moogle puppet.
If you take a look at the clock in the classroom, you'll see that instead of having 12 hours, it actually has 13 hours there. That's because that's because the days. No, actually, there's actually a reason for this, Jova. The days in this universe are actually 26 hours long instead of 24. This will even become.
I think that surprisingly enough, the games will stay consistent with even in the sequels.
Yeah, and it even becomes a plot point in the third one. So basically, again, it's the kind of thing that you really wish the game would actually elaborate more upon, because again, there's so little world building in the game, and this is probably the one time in the game where there's actually some decent world building. Specifically for Oerba, because Cocoon, if you want world building on Cocoon, well, gotta read that damn data log, I guess.
Honestly, again, this is why I really feel like instead of them initially planning this but not having time to flesh it out, I really go off of the mentality that this was all last-minute addition stuff in regards to, oh, okay, so maybe the old guard may want this. We'll just throw them this bone so that they don't feel completely left out. Because otherwise, again, this is something that's like put smack dab near the end, where it could easily be added in last minute, as opposed to, say, something that you feel is there but incomplete of sorts. Granted, who knows, maybe you're right and this was always in all along. But again, given off of how the PR was, it sounds like the whole hallway thing was their true intent.
The thing we have to remember about the PR is that we have to remember that for the most part, game developers are terrible at handling PR. A lot of times, when game developers try to
good game developers,
even good game, even good game developers usually have a lot of trouble dealing with the press. Because
they don't know how to handle it properly to the point where
PR.
Yeah.
And it comes up to a point where sometimes, I was about to say, Sean from Hello Games is probably the prime example. He's technically a good guy. The problem is that how he handled PR back then, and trust me, you pretty much had to be under a rock not to know, but how he ended up handling the PR made him look like a shady salesman, especially when the game did not deliver on a lot of things, which, mind you, was partially still his fault, but all the same, a lot of that drama could have been helped if he had handled PR better, which is something he learned the hard way.
Yeah, well, at the very least he did, because Peter Molyneux never learned, it seems. So
God, no, he didn't. And yeah, when it comes to Square, they apparently took a while to learn that lesson because the PR was still terrible with 13-2 and Lightning Returns, from what I've heard.
It becomes
insane.
Yeah, it boils down to that. Yeah. All right, tune in next time where we save Bhakti.
Yeah.
Yeah.